It just bewilders me how many people are struggling with the last two videos I've done this morning. I am getting an influx of messages. So, there was another question, and I always love questions. If I have the ability to provide proper guidance, not legal advice, because legal is the undoing of God's law, and I would never provide legal advice like a lying, looting, pandering piece of crap that the lawyering craft are. I'd rather provide you lawful guidance. That's real simple. So the inquiry was, okay, great, Derek, we see that you said bill the man or woman directly. Is there another way? There is another way. And why I say there's another way is, well, obviously there is. They made mention that, well, what do we do about the school board who seems to be, saying that they have the authority to be able to do these things? Well, first of all, you have to understand what it actually takes to trespass someone from a building. To trespass someone from a building, you have to own the building. Is a school a public, taxpayer-funded premises? Yes, it is. So who owns the building? Just think about it for a minute. I don't need you to answer it. Who owns the building? So can any one man or woman trespass you from that building? No. No, they can't. Who does the school board work for? Who pays them? Who has them gainfully employed? You do. As a taxpayer, right? So this is where stuff gets good. Because people are like, okay, well, how do we get the board? Because the board is obviously part of the problem. Bill the legal department for the school. Hey, you want to do some major damage, you bill the legal department. They're the ones telling these people that they're exempt from suit. Well, if you're saying the board is exempt from suit, and they bear no obligation or liability to the people for the rhetoric that comes out of their mouth, then the legal department bears the brunt of the storm. If you're telling these people they're not liable, then you become liable. Bill them up. Bill them up. It's not hard. It's really not that difficult. And you will find in your community, when you start doing these things, people will use derogatory terms like asshole. He or she's a real asshole. Yeah, because all they care about is their pocketbook. They don't give a shit about your life. If they cared about you, they wouldn't be practicing eugenics and weakening your immune system by forcing you to wear a mask. How many of the people that are giving you the advice to wear a mask have MD in front of their name? Almost none of them. How many of them even know what the Golgi complex is? How many of them know what a single-celled amoeba is? Or the endocrine system? How many of them can name at least 15 different attachment joints or areas for the muscles and the structure and the fascia? How many of them can tell you how many layers to an epidermis there are in the human body? Think about the people you're taking advice from. Just think about it for a minute. What was their GPA in high school? What was their GPA in college? Did they even graduate from an accredited school at all? And even if they did, with the Common Core now being ever prevalent, who cares if it was an accredited school at this point? Because little Susie can say 2 + 2 is 5, and as long as she's a good bullshitter, she gets an A. Everybody gets a participation trophy. Win, lose, or draw, you're all winners. If that wasn't setting this country up for socialism, I don't know what the hell was or is. You're all winners. Y'all have a right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. You want to nail these people? Build a legal department. Hey, it's come to our attention that you're going to absorb the liability of the school board. By telling them they're no longer liable, you accept full liability for giving them the legal advice that they have the ability to tell us what we can and can't do as Americans. So we're rightfully going to bill you guys. Start passing out bills like candy. True bills due and owing like candy. Get together in your community, 50, 60, 100, 300 strong. Start writing individual bills. Submit them all together. Hire your guys yourself a process server and serve these cronies. A true bill due and owing. Watch the game change. It's not an exaggeration. Quit arguing semantics with these people and do what really matters. Bill them up. Bill them up. So let's talk about what constitutes a true bill due and owing. A date, a time, and a place to be paid must exist on your true bill due and owing. A true bill due and owing requires an itemized list of tasks performed. You wanted me to wear a mask Monday through Friday. 8 a.m. I walked into the building, I put a mask on. I accepted your contract. You accepted the liability of the performance. The performance comes at $5,000 a day. People go, oh, that's crazy. You know what's crazy is? Most people won't do the research to find out how much money these schools, how much currency, how much credit on account these schools are getting in federal grants. And you can't figure out why your taxes keep going up, ladies and gentlemen, because BS bullshit like this is thrown around all day long, and they always need more. They always need more to fund their schemes, to get people to go along to get along, to get people to subvert from the Constitution and the very core values and principles of this nation, money being the root of all evil. You picking up what I'm laying down yet? Each and every one of them are accountable for their mouth. They have the freedom of speech. Yes, they do. God bless them and amen for the First Amendment. But that does not mean you are not liable for the treachery that you spew from it. For example, you are better off beating somebody in the street than you are telling them that you're going to whoop their ass. You want to know why? Because threatening somebody comes under the legal ramification of terroristic threats, which is a felony, versus just taking somebody out and leaving their teeth in the street is merely a misdemeanor. Huh? I don't advocate violence. I'm just trying to show you something. That's it. Trying to help you see it. I'm so frustrated with how the American education system has left everybody almost incompetent. And it's not your fault. I can't even say that. It's our fault. It's our fault that we allow this horse shit to continue on. It's our fault. Can't even pass the blame on these knuckleheads because we allowed it. Well, Derek, how can you say such a thing? Well, let me tell you. Let me ask you this. How many branches of government are there? Good majority of people will say 3. And I'll tell you, if you're one of those people saying 3, you need to hit the books. You need to read the preamble of the Constitution. Consent of the governed, which means he who is the author is the authority. He who creates is the master. There are 4 branches of government, and we, ladies and gentlemen, are number uno. We are the big cheese. but only if you know it to be true. Only if you can sound off with conviction in your heart. Only if you have the tenacity and the testicle fortitude to build these people up. Build them up. True bill due and owing. What's it require, ladies and gentlemen? An offer to contract. An acceptance to contract. Conditions to the acceptance to contract. Payment stipulated for compelled performance. When it's to be made. When is payment to be made? See, if I tell you $5,000 a day, but I never stipulate when you have to pay me, well, shit. You go into a court and they go, well, that's all fine and dandy. Sure, they owe you $5,000 a day, but I don't see anything in this true bill due and owing that stipulates when payments to be made, where payments to be made at, who it's to be mailed to. Is it to be made to the bearer on demand or payment in specific name and form? Is it direct deposit? What is it? It's no different than being gainfully employed, ladies and gentlemen. You go to work, you fill out some forms, you sit down at a table and discuss wages, and you make a determination on whether you're going to be paid bi-weekly or weekly, right? Because if there's no terms to the conditional acceptance and agreement of employment, well then by all means, he can pay you whenever, right? School boards, no different. They're all liable. As far as being kicked out of meetings, tell you something. They can't kick you out of a public meeting. They say, oh, we're going into a closed executive session. Well, if there are other people that are in that room that are not on that board, part of the private executive branch, and they're having a closed session and removing you, that is discrimination. Bill them up. Bill them up. Furthermore, if they're removing you from a public building, bill them up. You have every right to do so. Bill them up. It's time to quit candy coating shit and just doing the right thing. Bill them up. Could you imagine 500, 150, 200 people, even 60 people, all submitting bills on the same day to the same entity, to the same man, to the same legal department, and saying, put up or shut up? If you don't put up, in the next 30 days, a group of us are going to clean your clocks, legally speaking, in a court of competent jurisdiction because the amount exceeds $20. Think about it. All I can do is offer some insight. The things I speak of I've already done. Hell, I'm doing it to an alleged judge right now. He didn't respond. He acquiesced by tacit agreement to operating outside the scope of his office, falsely imprisoning me, falsely incarcerating me, theft by way of false promise, honest services fraud. All right? Now it's just a matter of finishing the process. This is a done deal. His goose is cooked. It's over. He agreed. I don't want to hear anybody else's bullshit opinion in the court. I could care less unless you got first-hand knowledge and are willing to testify with first-hand perfected knowledge under the pains and penalties of perjury, facing 1 year in prison and a $10,000 fine. If you are not competent and willing to do that, shut up and get out of my court before I charge you up, before you come a liable party. You want to be a party to the contract? Come on in. Sit right down. Grab yourself a beer. Let's have some fun. I'll make you a liable party to the contract as well. You want to interfere and interject in something that doesn't pertain to you? By all means, grab a seat. Don't mind digging into your wallet too. Bill them. Accept the contract. Set the terms, stipulations, and conditions, and bill them. Bill them up. I love you guys. Keep hitting me with the inquiries. I'll keep doing more videos. I have no problem talking about this all day long until I'm blue in the face, because it is really not that hard. Remember, after 72 hours, they acquiesce by tacit agreement. How do you serve them properly? Due process of law. Let's touch base on that. we can use one registered mail. Why would we use registered mail? It's a tad expensive, yes, I understand, but it proves chain of title. The U.S. Postmaster now becomes your federal witness, all right? And you could subpoena them and their logbook, which shows everybody who touched that article of mail until it reached the recipient with a 3811 return receipt, all right? Brilliant. There's also certificates of mailing as well, but probably the best one that you're going to be able to utilize. Now, I would say registered mail, because if you're going into an Article 3 court, you're going into a court of competent jurisdiction, and you're going into the federal side of the judiciary, all right? The mailing, the Postal Service is federal, ladies and gentlemen. So what better witness to have than a federal witness? Can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah? Now, the other way you can do it is by way of process of service, a private server, process server. Now, you can use the sheriff, but most often their little panties will get in a wad because it's a conflict of interest, because they're contracted into all this gobbledygook as well to receive federal funding. It kind of becomes a conflict of interest for them because they're absconding from their real duties, their oath of office, what they're really supposed to be doing. So we hire somebody like a state notary to do a private administrative process. Get together, band together with your communities. There are like-minded people just like myself that are highly intuitive and articulate and able to execute this stuff. I just talked to a lawyer the other day outside of a courtroom who's like, well, how do we do this? How do we fix this stuff, Derek? I mean, obviously you know what you're doing. Sure, it takes good men like you and I, even though we're on opposite sides of the fence, because you operate in the legal realm and I operate in the lawful realm. Two competing realms, two very different entities, right? Two very different spectrums. But you and I could come together and we could be a force to be reckoned with. He goes, I can't do that, Derek. I'll lose everything. Oh, so you're going to sell your soul for materialistic shit you can't take with you. Brilliant. Bravo. Now I'll be the ones explaining to your offspring why they wear physical chains and not invisible chains anymore, because daddy didn't have the testicles to stand up and do the right thing because he was afraid he'd lose his pension. He'd lose his house. He might lose his position in society. Don't worry, Skippy. I'll explain it to your offspring. When they're being accosted against their will because they didn't participate in becoming a lawyer, a judge, an officer of the law, and now they're frivolously being fleeced for victimless crimes because daddy had no testicles. That's right. I ain't scared to say it. I call it like I see it. So stand up for your offspring. Because you know what they're doing right now? They're indoctrinating your offspring to obey, 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 and listen to what we say. Because we're government. You think about that for a minute. I was never raised that way. Thank God for the badass Marines that were in my life that took no shit from nobody. Amen. I love them more and more today than I thought I ever could because of what they instilled in me. Freedom isn't free, Derek. You're going to have to fight your entire fucking life for it. Give it hell. Used to say things like, oorah. I never understood what that was. I was never a Marine. But I'll tell you what, that mentality, it does a body good. It does a soul good. To fight for something you believe in. If you can't fight for your offspring, what the fuck are you going to fight for? Holy sheep shit. You know, you watch that Full Metal Jacket. Gomer Pyle! You know, you just gotta, that's kind of how it was. That's kind of how it was when I was growing up. What would possess you to say something so profoundly ignorant? Do you have a free thought in that brain of yours? Start using your head, Derek. I used to think they were being hard on me. There were times I didn't even want to go to work because I was like, I'm going to have to put up with this rhetoric that they're going to keep forcing on me, that somehow I'm ignorant and incompetent. They were only doing these things for my benefit. I used to think they were being rude and assholes. And then I realized they actually care about me. It's too bad. Most of my best friends died by the time I was 16, 17 years old. Most of my best friends died. They were all in their 60s and 70s when I met them. I was like 13, 14 years old. And they were all dead by the time I was 18. Most of them. They broke the mold after them old men. And I'll tell you what, if them old men were alive today, some of them men used to knock the shit out of sheriffs coming onto their property. Come on their property without a warrant, and they'd leave with broken nose and black eyes. You don't come on a man's property unannounced, without warrant, without merit. Better go back and get you a warrant, son. And that's no bullshit. Look at the kind of men that I was raised around. Took zero shit from anybody. Unless it was warranted. An actual warrant. Not a capious. These men knew the difference. I don't even know why anybody would want their kid in a public fool system at this point. Holy sheep shit. They're more inclined to be articulate, intelligent young individuals never had being subjected to a public fool system at this point. They exercise more critical thought process being outside the school system than they do in it. They're training the next generation for a totalitarian dictatorship and one world government. And you got a choice. Stand there idly by and show your offspring that it's okay to be told what to do while you're on this earth that they didn't create. Or stand up, sound off like you got a pair, and lead by example and show your offspring how mommy and daddy handle business. Mommy and daddy are sharks. Mommy and daddy gonna make sure life is good for you. We're gonna build them up. We're gonna make these assholes pay for your college. You wanna give us orders? We accept your orders. Under these conditions. $5,000 seems unreasonable, Derek. Oh, really? They're getting $6 million to see how many of you are compliant sheep. $6 million to conduct an experiment and violate your rights 6 ways from Sunday. $5,000 a day is pennies. Peanuts. And it leaves enough room for your family and friends that have offspring in the school system to do the same thing. We don't want to cut everybody's throat. We don't want to take it all. Write the legal department for the school board. Go ahead and let that county attorney know what's up. Tell him Derek Gonzalez says hi. Let him know I said hello. I always get a rise out of him that way. It's a lot of fun. Think about it. All I can do is offer you some sound knowledge. It's up to you whether or not you're going to pull the trigger. I had somebody the other day go, Derek, out of all your classes, how many people have been successful? I'm not here to hold your hand. You either have what it takes to do it or you don't. All I can do is provide you the information. Most people that go to college, 60% of them or better, never even end up in the field they studied in college. Is the college to blame for that? No. Think about that for a little bit. It takes willpower. It takes determination. It takes a whole lot of heart and a lot of spirit to do what myself and so many others do. I know people that went to school that have a master's degree in business that work in the plumbing section of Menards. Does anybody ask them how successful they were? Or how successful the college is at finding them jobs with a master's degree in business making 6 figures? No, they don't. Because at the end of the day, it's up to the man or woman who's getting the education to decide what they're going to do in their life. Let that resonate in your mind for a minute. I'm very passionate about this stuff because I believe in you guys. I believe in everybody. I even have a little admiration for the cretins that are forcing this shit on people because it takes balls. Either balls or just sheer ignorance to do what they're doing. I see some troubling times ahead. I keep telling people, get your canned goods, get your heirloom seeds, get you some bullets, If you can't find 90% alcohol, rubbing alcohol, buy yourself some Everclear in case you get wounded. Need to, steri strip a wound. Might be wise to learn how to, duct tape your leg, your limb back on, or put a stent on, or learn how to create a tourniquet. Because there's going to be a date and a time, ladies and gentlemen, where Walmart isn't open anymore. It's coming. Funny how all the people fought over shit paper, a year ago? We've got a shortage in shit paper, and there are people, civilized people allegedly, fist fighting in the middle of the grocery store over toilet paper. Yet a sound man on principles and doctrines tells you to go out and buy canned goods, fishing poles, fishing hooks, weights, sinkers, conibear traps, live traps, and you guys go, that sounds crazy. I sound crazy. Yet less than a year ago, you all saw people fighting over shit paper in the middle of an aisle. That's insanity to me. That's a beautiful place. So, with that said, bill them. Let's go through it one more time. First, the offer to contract has to be made, which is a mandate. A mandate is an offer to contract. Second, you can either agree to that mandate by tacit agreement, and silence being your acquiescence, which means you can't bill them. You agreed. It's custom. You agreed to it. Or, the second they make that mandate, that order, you can send them a nice acceptance and acknowledgement of their order, their mandate, which is not law, which is a contract agreement. I accept it. I acknowledge it. Under the conditions, you pay me $5,000 a day. To be paid every Friday of the month, consecutively by 3:30 p.m. I want a check in my mailbox every Friday. Now, what's funny is the school systems, the teachers, they only get paid once a month. It'd be awfully hard for them to fulfill that order, ain't it? Yeah, think about that. Now you're in breach of contract. Watch how quickly they'll start saying, well, you've got medical exemptions. You don't have to wear one. We want people to wear them, but being that you're intelligent enough to understand contract law and 72 hours and us being caught holding the ball, we're gonna overlook little Nina not wearing a mask in class, but we sure appreciate you, and we don't wish to contract at this time, but thank you for your value and consideration. Oh, well, that's wonderful. Great. Then there's no need to bill you. The conditional acceptance must have terms and conditions, must stipulate when and where payment is to be made, and in what form, species, and how. Put it down. Write it down on paper and send it to these smucks. Bill them up. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.